This is the CitizenLink Report.
If you find our insights helpful, would you support our video efforts? Your gift of $25 or more goes a long ways. Covers the crew, lights, cameras, all that. Just click on Donate. Thanks from all of us. What would it be like if the balance of power in the Senate was flipped so that pro-life and pro-family legislation could get a fair hearing? Well, it could happen this very year. This is the CitizenLink Report. I'm Stuart Shepard along with John Polton, who follows races around the country for CitizenLink. Hi, John.
Hi, Stuart.
Let's just cut right to the chase. Obamacare. The colossal failure of Obamacare has put many races into play that just a year ago many of us wouldn't have thought could be possible, but here we are.
Oh, that's right. There were a number of senators that cast what could be viewed as the vote, the tie-breaking vote on Obamacare, and they have to face re-election this year. Now that Obamacare is coming into fruition and we get to see what it's like, it's a new environment for politicians to have to face, and that's changed the dynamics this year.
What else is putting these races into play? What other issues are causing these to be talked about?
Well, I think the ongoing debate over, or the ongoing situation with our national debt, it continues to grow, just continues to pile up. That will be a continuing issue this year in the elections. And then I think for us, I think many of the viewers of this program, they recognize the issues, the attacks on our religious freedom. And those continue to mount in more and more states. I think those issues are going to become, and those are tied to Obamacare, I think those are going to factor into this year's elections in some significant ways.
Now, at this point in time, the House has conservative leadership in the general sense. I know some people would argue about that. There are many conversations to be had. Right. But generally speaking, conservative legislation, pro-life legislation, pro-family legislation can get through the House fairly easily as these things go. Right. But the Senate has been a continual roadblock, particularly with Majority Leader Harry Reid deciding what bills get a hearing and which do not. But there are also other constitutional duties that the Senate has that come into play with this. What else do they do that's important, that's significant?
Right. They have to confirm all of the president's appointees, all of the cabinet-level appointees and similar high-level appointees have to be confirmed by the Senate. And of course, that includes judges, the biggest one of all. When you're talking about the Senate, you're talking about the courts, really. And of course, on our issues, and especially issues like life, marriage right now, religious freedom, the courts are having a huge say. And so the Senate becomes so important.
And that's the place where it all happens.
That's right.
All right, let's get specific. Let's run through the list of states that we'll be watching through this election season. First, Alaska.
Alaska is a key state. Mark Begich is up for his first re-election campaign, and there are two candidates within 3 or 4 points of him.
All right. Arkansas.
Tom Cotton is an up-and-comer congressman, first-term congressman running against Senator Mark Pryor. And some polls have him up 5 points. Tom Cotton is a strong pro-family conservative. This is one of the biggest races in the country.
Colorado.
Colorado is kind of a dark horse. It's emerged because of Obamacare. Mark Udall was one of those senators who got Obamacare over the hump, and a couple of polls recently have had him up by just a couple points over challengers.
All right. Iowa.
Another dark horse. If the right candidate emerges for this open seat, we could see that become very competitive.
All right. Louisiana.
Louisiana is a big state. Mary Landrieu is the incumbent there. She's won a number of races by the skin of her teeth. This year doesn't look like it's going to be any different, except that I think she has a real chance to go down this year.
All right. Michigan.
Michigan is another, I would say, a dark horse that has emerged recently. No Republican has won in Michigan since 1994, but that was the last time we had an open seat in an off-year election. That's the situation this year, and Republican candidate Terry Lynn Land, former Secretary of State, is looking very good in the polls.
Okay. Montana.
Montana is an open seat again, although the governor has just appointed a replacement, so technically he's the incumbent now. But Congressman Steve Daines is a very pro-family congressman who I think has an excellent chance of winning that seat.
North Carolina.
That'll be a hard-fought contest. Polls show very tight race. Kay Hagan is the Democrat incumbent. Several Republicans are running there. All of them right now running slightly ahead of her. But that'll be a hard-fought contest all the way through to the end. And
that's a state that, at least at the state legislature, has gone conservative over the last few years.
That's right. It's changed dramatically.
South Dakota.
South Dakota is an open seat with Tim Johnston retiring, and it looks like an excellent chance for a strong pro-life candidate to win there.
West Virginia.
Republicans haven't won a Senate seat there since 1956, but this looks like this will be the year when they change that.
What's happening there that's leading to that?
It's an open seat, and there's just a good possibility with a Republican congresswoman running for that election, running for that seat. A good chance that she'll win that. She's not stellar on pro-family issues, but she would be a big improvement.
Okay. Now, that's 10 states around the country. That's 1 in 5 states that could change. How many of those would need to shift in order for the balance of power in the Senate to change hands? What are we looking at?
Yeah, we'd have to have a 6-seat change. 5-seat would produce a tie, but then, of course, the vice president casts the tie-breaking vote. So 6 seats at this point would actually produce a change in control.
All right, and that's a total shift from one side to the other.
That's right.
For that to happen.
That's right.
John, what can people do? I mean, there are a lot of folks who would like to see a change. They'd like to see more legislation that's in harmony with their beliefs getting passed. Right. What can they do at the grassroots level to make a difference here?
Well, I would say, first of all, let's not forget that they need to pray. And, you know, I think we in politics are especially guilty of producing our big plans that we're excited about, that's going to change the day, change the world. We need those. We need those big plans. I think those of us on the pro-family side have some of those plans. But we need to look to the Lord first, and so I would encourage our listeners to be praying about this election. Secondly, get involved in campaigns in your state. There are some great candidates running, candidates worthy of support, and one person getting involved is surprising sometimes how much you can make a difference. But then thirdly, you can also support other groups that are engaged in these types of things. There are a lot of groups doing good things. CitizenLink is one of those. We will be engaged in most of the states that we mentioned here today in various ways, on the ground, putting boots on the ground, but also engaged through mailings and the phone calls and the usual things, but communicating clearly where the candidates stand on these issues. So people can back those organizations that are doing those types of things.
I'm going to ask you a question here. I don't mean it to be a fluffy question, but are you optimistic?
I am. I'm very optimistic. I think this is a crucial time for America. I think this is a time where things can still go either way. But right now we have been given a phenomenal chance in 2014 to reroute our country. And we need to take advantage of it.
Very good. John, thanks for your insights. Thanks for keeping track of all these box scores around the country. It's good to watch these things.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for your input. And thank you for watching. We encourage you to write to us. Let us know what's happening in your state. What do you think about the campaigns and elections this year? You may write to us at mail@citizenlink.com. We can't respond to every note, but we do read every one that comes in, and we appreciate your questions, your comments, and your concerns. And remember to pray for new candidates to be put into place around the country, to be in these races, who represent the values that we share. Pray for their peace of mind as they go through what can be quite a gauntlet to get from deciding to run all the way into possibly being elected into office. Pray that they will have wisdom and insight as they run their campaigns and run them honestly and fairly. And pray for our country, for the nation. This is a pivotal year for the issues that we care about. Remember to pray diligently and regularly for this nation of ours. And also remember to stand tall and be heard.